Trump and Biden make nice at the White House, at least for 29 seconds. Politics always involves a measure of performance, and on that score, few moments rival the one on Wednesday morning at the White House when President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump pretended in public to like and respect each other for a total of 29 seconds. They shook hands despite years of animus and recriminations. Mr. Trump has called Biden crooked and communist and has vowed to investigate his actions in office. Biden has said Trump is a dictator who tried to steal an election and would sacrifice our democracy in his pursuits of power. Things like that. On Wednesday, at least, the nation's 46th president, that is Biden, was determined to uphold the traditions that have long surrounded a peaceful transfer of power, offering to do everything we can, he says, to make sure you're accommodated, have what you need. Even if there were traditions that Trump refused to extend to him 4 years earlier, Trump responded as he posed in front of a roaring fireplace in the Oval Office. I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. That'll be as smooth as you can get. Up until less than 2 weeks ago, the president-elect regularly derided Biden as weak, infirm, and demented. On Wednesday, he referred to the president merely as Joe, offering his appreciation for the gracious hospitality. It was a remarkable half-minute, followed by a closed-door meeting of the two men, along with their chiefs of staff, that lasted almost 2 hours. But beneath the public disguise, both men were dealing with starkly different realities. For Trump, it was a heady, I told you so moment of political resurrection after a defeat he had never really accepted. And for Biden and his staff, it was a grim, how is this happening day that left them feeling defeated and in despair. Rough day, one senior aide texted during the meeting, summing up the mood in West Wing, where Trump's new team will soon take over. Encounters like these are always fraught with tension, placing two rivals next to each other trying to be civil after they had spent months tearing each other down. Herbert Hoover was angry that Franklin D. Roosevelt would not sign into his approach to the Great Depression during his transition. Jimmy Carter was unimpressed that Ronald Reagan did not take notes during their post-election meeting. 8 years ago, the stage was set for the similarly contentious meeting between President Barack Obama and Donald Trump, then the president-elect. Trump had spent years stoking the birther lie and that Mr. Obama had been born outside the United States, which would make him ineligible to be president. Obama had mocked Trump mercilessly, and when the two men greeted each other, they were surprisingly cordial, but the graciousness between the two men was a show and did not last. Trump never sought Obama's counsel, and the 4 years of Trump's presidency only deepened Obama's animosity. Biden and Trump might have been expected to bury the tradition of fake graciousness. It was Trump, after all, who shrugged off the traditional meeting in 2020, consumed by his denial of Biden's victory. On Wednesday, the two men sat just feet from where Trump had watched the Capitol being ransacked by supporters January 6, 2021. When Biden was inaugurated 14 days later, Trump did not greet him at the White House, ride with him to the Capitol, or take his seat on the stage. Instead, he flew on Marine One from the White House to a jet waiting to take him to his Florida estate. For Biden, there was plenty of reason to return the favor as he sat next to the ultimate Washington activist. Yet the president, in his ultimate institutionalist, having served in Washington for nearly a half century, he had pitched his candidacy in 2020 as a return to the norms and principles of good behavior, and had guided past presidents of both parties. It would have been out of character for Biden to act the way Trump had 4 years earlier, even if he wanted to. Instead, his message to the president-elect was a simple one: welcome, welcome back, is what he said. And those final words by Biden were subtle acknowledgement of his own failure to prevent what he had long said was a threat to the core of American democracy, a return to power by Donald Trump. For his part, the president-elect made his own oblique reference to their differences. He said, "Thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it's a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. That'll be as smooth as you can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe," is what Donald Trump said. And Biden responded, "You're welcome." Following the meeting, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, said the discussion between the two men had been cordial, gracious, and substantive. She said a number of topics had been discussed, including national security and domestic policy. She said Trump had come with a detailed set of questions for Biden. She did not go into detail about the conversation, but said the president had come with his own list, including reminding Trump of things that remain on the congressional to-do list, including funding the government and passing relief for recent disasters. After he left the White House, Trump called the New York Post to describe it. He said, "We got to know each other again while discussing issues like the war in Ukraine. I asked for his views, and he gave them to me," Trump said. According to the Post, "We also talked very much about the Middle East. Likewise, I wanted to know his views on where we are and what he thinks, and he gave them to me. It was very gracious." Before the White House meeting, Trump began his day in Washington in more obviously friendly territory, a gathering of Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Trump was received in a closed-door meeting near the Capitol by jubilant House Republicans, who gave him a standing ovation as he took the stage and delivered triumphant remarks centered around his own electoral victory. Trump, 78 years old now, who is limited to 2 terms as president by the Constitution, said, "I suspect I won't be running again." And he then joked, "Unless you say, 'He's so good, we've got to go figure something else out.'" This is by New York Times on DNYUZ. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.